Hello! You are watching the Video Voters Guide, organized by the League of Women Voters of Portland. We are in the studios of Metro East Community Media to talk with candidates running in the November 2020 general election. All candidates who filed for this race were invited to participate in the Video Voters Guide. However, there are many reasons during a campaign why a candidate may be unable to appear. For comprehensive coverage by the League, including information on candidates who might not have been available for a video interview, visit vote411.org. Information is available in both English and Spanish. Candidates may choose to include additional information on Vote 411, such as their own YouTube videos. Watch, share, and be an informed voter.
Hello, I'm Margaret Knoll with the League of Women Voters of Portland. With me today is Josh Solomon, running for Congressional District 3. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you for having me here, Margaret.
To start, can you describe the part of Oregon you're running to represent, and then tell us a little about yourself and why you're running for this office, and what unique characteristics you have among all the candidates for this office?
Yeah, definitely. So District 3 encompasses Portland, Oregon, as well as several cities east of the Willamette as well. Gresham, for example, parts of Clackamas as well. So yeah, what I bring to the table is what I'm hoping is a fresh perspective on how we can, the direction that we can take our country into. For example, we just went through some devastating wildfires. We need to change our land management practices so that we work with nature instead of against it. For example, the Native Americans have been practicing controlled burns for thousands of years before the settlers came here. We need to restore these indigenous practices if we want to sustain our forests into the future.
And what about your unique characteristics?
Okay, yeah, so my background is in both science and economics. And so with regards to some of the most pressing problems facing our country and the world today, I have a unique perspective, especially coming from the scientific standpoint, because the energy crisis is very much related to climate change as well. So if we want to ameliorate that problem, we have to come up with new solutions that look at both the economic landscape as well as the scientific and technological landscape as well.
Okay, so about climate change, what should Congress do to deal with climate change? And in your opinion, is Congress doing enough to combat climate change? And if not, what specific initiatives would you support?
So I definitely think Congress is not doing enough to combat climate change. If we actually want to reach our carbon goals into the future, it's most likely that we're going to need some kind of fission-related energy source in order to meet those carbon emission targets. And what most people aren't aware of is that the fourth generation reactor technology that's based on the molten salt technology is the most safe, and also it can use a fuel called thorium rather than uranium, which has a much lower half-life. And so we don't have to wait thousands of years for it to decay the way we would with uranium. And so there's a lot of advantages to this technology that are immediately available if we simply take the necessary actions to get more funding for this technology and implement it on a larger scale.
So changing the subject, what legislation would you support or would you propose regarding federal responses to COVID-19?
With regards to COVID-19. Okay, so the main thing is that I would consider what has been successful and unsuccessful across the world, not just with regards to American domestic policy with regards to the virus. So the media always paints this picture that we're in this bubble, there's nothing outside of us with regards to mitigation and the appropriate actions with regards to the virus. So I would look at Sweden, for example, and how they've dealt with the virus. And they're actually one of the very few, so they actually never went into a lockdown. And their whole perspective is that in order to get to herd immunity, you need the strongest individuals to go out and essentially get exposed to the virus while ensuring that the most at-risk individuals, the older people, for example, are less exposed. And they've essentially predicted that 18%, when 18% of the population is exposed to the virus, that's the herd immunity threshold needed to reach herd immunity. And they're one of the few European countries who has not seen a resurgence in cases.
If elected, what will be your top priorities during the next session of Congress to specifically help Oregonians in your district?
The most pressing issue facing our district now is land management. We have to take better care of our forests. It's unacceptable to allow the forests to burn the way they are. We knew that this was coming. Year after year, it's been getting drier, it's been getting hotter. We have to change our relationship to the land and to the forest. And the way we can do this is by implementing controlled burns in the fire off season, just like the Native Americans did here for thousands of years. There used to be a vast oak savanna in the Willamette Valley, and that's disappeared. It's been largely disappeared and has been replaced by Doug firs. We have to implement these indigenous techniques to land management. We also have to change our logging practices. Instead of doing clear cuts of the forest, we can practice thinning instead. And the undergrowth that results from a clear cut is it's too devastating, it's too dangerous. Thinning the forest, it provides far less risk to wildfire damage.
So misinformation can have damaging effects for democracy. What approaches might you take to ensure the public has accurate and unbiased information about elections and government?
I'm a libertarian, and libertarians stand up for individual liberties, and we always put trust in public understanding and interpretation of any information source. We do not need to censor any type of information. Individuals are in a position to educate themselves and look at all sources of information, whether they are correct or not, and make their own decisions. Okay, so censorship is off the table. We need to stop internet censorship. It's becoming increasingly pervasive. We must stand up for it if we are to preserve our First Amendment rights to free speech.
Okay, we have another minute or so left. Would you let us know some of the other things you'd like to talk about and let the electorate know?
Yeah. Absolutely. One of the most pressing issues that we are currently being distracted from, that the media is purposely distracting us from, is our imperialist foreign policy. The only reason that we are in Syria now is to exploit resources, is to take the oil of the Syrian people. Just as President Trump has said, we're there for the oil. This is unacceptable. Our military is made to defend us. It is not meant for these war profiteering missions that are ultimately based on the exploitation of natural resources. The same goes for Afghanistan. We were lied to. We were told that we're there to fight terrorism. We're not. We're there to exploit resources. Afghanistan has the largest untapped lithium reserve in the world, worth over $1 trillion, according to the US Geological Survey. There are already mines being auctioned off, including those for copper, that have been auctioned off, to countries such as China and the US. And so we have a vested interest in maintaining a military presence, not to fight terrorism, but to ensure the safety of our mineral resource exploitation endeavors. This is unacceptable. We must bring our troops home immediately.
Okay, well, that's about all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, Josh.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been the Video Voters Guide. Thank you for watching. The general election is Tuesday, November 3rd. The last day to register is October 13th. Remember to mail your ballot a week ahead or visit a ballot drop location. Be sure to inform yourself about the candidates and ballot measures and exercise your right to vote.